All right, so um, seeing as I've, in a very good sense, become qualified to teach chess, in that I understand the game completely thoroughly, I can now annotate. Now I can now discuss elite grandmaster games and stuff at persuasiveness, credibility that is trustworthy. So that's this is a pretty nice. This is pretty cool and stuff. So I um I read about 22 books on chess, did some practicing and stuff, did a lot of thinking and a lot of breaking ideas down, come up with new things, came up with a good dynamic formula and system, which I will be um, putting out soon for U.S. residents to learn and stuff. I'm really looking forward to the U.S. chess organizations becoming the best of all time for all time and stuff. It's going to be really awesome, and it'll be glad to have my name on that fact of history. Um, it was certainly a lot of hard work, and I went through so much to do it. Um, and I'm glad to be able to yeah, safely talk about these games. So hey, let's talk about this 1961 game between Bobby Fischer and Mikhail Tal and stuff. I had Stockfish cranked up to the maximum settings in this, looking at each move for 120 seconds. And I've been told that this is not the true stockfish and stuff. No, this is not as strong as other forms of stockfish and stuff, but it is quite very strong and stuff, better than any human player and stuff. And so it's rather reliable and stuff. And um, you know, you know, hold on, what's going on here? Oh, this is just electronic harassment at this point. Oh yeah, it's funny. Funny proposal. I don't think so. So, um, how do we want to look at these moves now? Oh yeah, so let's look at the indexes and stuff. And this, Bobby Fischer's playing as white and stuff. He totally crushes black here. And now, mind you, Mikhail Tal, for all of his amazingness, still had some real medical problems and stuff. Aside from complications from I think it was a syndactyly or ectrodactyly stuff. Also, more formally called a lobster hand syndrome. It's not a topic I really study much. Aside from the complications from that and stuff, there was other some clear psychological issues and stuff. Um, and yeah, it was a hard time to grow up in too. I mean, he grew up in the Soviet Union as well. He had some real struggles, and it's just a shame that um, he had to go out the way he did and stuff. He deserved a lot better than to contract such a serious condition and die. Um, he wasn't the best person to his to to women, unfortunately, but it is what it is. A person like that can only really do so much before they buckle and snap and start going crazy. Um, I have to take a moment to recall why he passed away. It's Now, mind you, Wikipedia has about a 25% error rate, so it died at just 55 in 1992. Long-standing liver and kidney ailments. Yeah, he was also a heavy smoker and drinker, which also played into his problems and his illness and stuff. So yeah, if um if you if you voluntarily intoxicate and stuff, you should probably stop doing that. Get clean, get recovered, don't get the supplemental nutrition or whatever you need to or whatever metabolite or biosynthesis pathway chemical you need. Um, Go talk to doctors to help you get that and stuff, and don't look back. So, um, yeah. So going back to the stats and stuff, White was paying out score to get domination and stuff, which outweighed, you know, the accuracy difference and stuff. Black here was going for accuracy and stuff. He wasn't thinking about dominating though, and he wasn't thinking of score. I mean, I don't know what the scoring system was like back then in 1961 when this game was played, but yeah, um, you know, Fischer and Tal played games while Tal was very sick, which is, I mean, they were best friends. They had to play, you know, but I don't know. I don't think it is what it is. So, uh, 235, 235. This was not Tal at his best, though. Tal at his best was absolutely undefeatable and stuff. Tal was a top tier calculator in chess. He just, you know, he burned out too early and stuff because of his habits. Bobby Fischer, on the other hand, was generally pretty healthy. Um, so, the thing about Fischer is that he just hated contradicting his own feelings. Among, you know, he was also repeatedly terrorized and harassed by people, and he was uh, wrongfully lashed out at for calling out the Soviet chess teams for their dubious practices. Yeah, and amongst other things. Yeah. Eventually, he would succumb to schizophrenia and then go on these pretty crazy rants that I think a lot of people still remember from 2008. But yeah, so here, White is, you know, trying to get rate of improvement and keep initiative. It's kind of like Morphy's style of doing things, of paying out to get initiative, and okay, you know, White is, you know, is getting is just going for domination here and stuff, keeping the advantage and, you know, maximizing pressure and not looking back. This is almost like watching Carlsen play. You know, just like Carlsen is almost like watching Fischer play. And of course, there's tactical combinations happening here naturally because it's all falling in line with, you know, the order of organization and how things are supposed to go. Um, if a person's thinking of, you know, devastating their opponent, like, you know, White's pieces are totally outperforming Black here and stuff. Um, you know, Fischer talked about chess being given when to punch and when to duck and stuff. Fischer's not just ducking and stuff. He's also making sure to read his opponent and stuff, and looking at the little powder keg situations that come up, and he's just being vicious, absolutely crushing his opponent. Stuff, not giving up the advantage, you know, and the center pawns here are telling us all that here and stuff. You know, White could force mate in 42 from here. This is like this is basically a perfect game. This is a solved game and stuff. Like you basically, um, Fischer here is focusing on focused on solving the chess system that emerged, and not and you know, he's not thinking about score or any things that are kind of like distracting from essential the essential most important key things, like, you know, the the board states, the statics and dynamic board states, and the analysis portion of it, and the, the logic and stuff, um, comparing the logic of different moves and stuff like that, and, you know, he was somebody. He was one of the few people who solved chess in general. And look, this results in a double queen. Incredible. You know, Tal was a master improviser. Fischer was a master, well, a master. You know, like this is. They're both loosely in the same league and stuff, but Fischer, you know, he had capability to outperform Tal and stuff. And we look at the statistics and how they performed. Oh, I hate this. I hate this browser, the way it gets sometimes. Mikhail Tal played 2,562 professional games, won 40%, only lost 11%. So, highly drawish player, but that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. So, it's not as good as winning, but hey, it is what it is. Fischer won 57% of his games, only lost 13%. Fischer knew something. He knew somebody played 954 games, still win 57% of the time, versus somebody who played 2,562 games and had 40% win rate and stuff. No, Fischer understood something. Like, he had a few more understandings than Tal did and stuff. Fischer was healthier. That's the thing. He was healthier. He could just do better. Chess eventually became too easy for Fischer, so he made what's called Fischer random chess, or chess 960, with 960 possible initial opening pieces, and he, like, yeah. Any professional games against Fischer here? No. And Tal actually drew in his last tournament game. Tal here won against Gonzalez. Tal's ELO rate was unstable. Yeah, unstable ELO. So that's what happens when you don't have good health habits and stuff. It makes your life unstable, and eventually you fall through the floor after too much oscillation. It's not a natural oscillation. Everything has a natural oscillation and stuff. Mikhail Tal did not find his natural oscillation, unfortunately. And it's just unfortunate that, he had to be born in that circumstance. Had he been born in a better circumstance and stuff, he would have had less complications. And then, maybe he'd still be around today to share all this wisdom and everything, and maybe life would have gone better for him. It's sad. It's just very sad. It's very sad what happened to Bobby Fischer too. Though there's a legend that he's actually still alive. So, but I'm not sure if I want to go into that one though.